What's up YouTube, Demi here. This is a guide on how to make basically any build in the game fairly budget to start out with as either a league starter or like you just want to start a new build but you don't have the currency to get everything that you need at endgame. I'm going to try to explain it using my own builds as examples. We're going to go through a bunch of them and I'm going to try to explain how to figure out the core items of a build, what it needs to function, and how to like replace those items with cheaper things so that you can get the build started and then grind your way up into the end game versions of the character. Most of my build, actually every single one of my build guides, will always show the end game version of the character. I do not start by showing you the budget options. I kind of like throw you hints as to what you could possibly use as budget options in the guides, but I like expect people to know what I know, which is unfair. So I'm going to try to explain how to do that and to make it easier for you guys to understand exactly how to do this. So we're going to start with one of my most expensive builds that people always complain about how horribly expensive it is, which is my low-life RF character, RF Guardian. So the forum guide for this is right here, and it's really expensive. It's really good, but also really expensive. I have over 20k ES as a low-life character, and a ridiculous amount of ES recharge per second and ES regen with time of need up to 10k regen per second, right? That's insane. Everybody's like, holy shit, I want to make this build, but I can't afford it because look at this gear. Where's my gear? Here we go. So, what you need to do when you make a build is you need to read the thread, watch the build video for required uniques. They will always tell you things that you need to have. In this case, the only required unique is a Presence of Chayula, in my case, but this amulet's really fucking expensive. It's like 20 to 30x almost in every league, or at least it used to be. I think it's like 10x in standard now. In Legacy League or whatever league it currently is, it's probably gonna be really fucking expensive. So, what you do at this point is you have to figure out what this unique item is solving, and also chefs. Those are also these are two expensive things, right? Everything else looks like it's just rare items that give ES, so that's easy enough to figure out to scale down. We'll talk about that later. So the two unique items that you need for this build are a Chavirons and a Presence of Chayula. Presence of Chayula, what it gives you is cannot be stunned. And that's really important as an ES-based character, because if you don't have cannot be stunned, you'll be stun locked by any time anything hits you, which is obviously not ideal. Now, the options to replace this with, the other options for stun immunity that you can get, like the skill tree is, let me show you the skill tree. You're fairly close to grabbing Unwavering Stance right here. This is one way to get cannot be stunned, right? So you could drop 3 points somewhere, like say Arsonist. You could drop these 3 points, lose a little bit of fire damage and life regen, and pick up cannot be stunned. That way you could run literally whatever amulet you want, not pay the 20x for this amulet, and just lose a little bit of damage off the skill tree. You could also alternatively drop any of the 3-point jewel sockets or etc. just to grab cannot be stunned. That solves that issue entirely, right? Other options for this, let's go to the wiki. I don't want Hermnors, I just want PoE Wiki. Okay, so like, we need to look up cannot be stunned. We need to find a way to get that. So Brutal Fervor is an option. Brutal Fervor is a Ascendancy passive for the Slayer. Okay, that doesn't work. Next one. Vile Bastion. Occultist, we are a Guardian, that doesn't work. Next one. Juggernaut, also doesn't work. Guardian. This is one of the Ascendancy nodes you can grab for the Guardian. It gives you cannot be stunned if you've blocked recently. Where is it? Which is great, but again, if you're not being hit all the time, this is not reliable enough. It's not like always up, so that's one of the reasons why I do not go for this node. I don't rely on it, rather. Other ways to get this, let's see. List of unique boots. There's a pair of unique boots that have this. Cannot be stunned while on low life. That would actually work for us. Wait, go back. Lion's Eyes Paws would actually work perfectly for this build because we are on low life all the time. So this could work as a budget option. It doesn't have any ES on it, but it gives you a huge chunk of strength and dex, both of which we need on the build, mostly the dex. And it gives you cannot be stunned, so that's cool. Is there another source? Why does it keep taking me to the life page? Okay, so there's one source. There should be two, right? Doesn't Callum's Roots give it? Okay, so this is another thing that you'd have to know. Unwavering Stance, that note on the passive tree we talked about, right here. you can search for this. There's other sources to get that node. You can also wear these boots. They give you cannot be knocked back, a bunch of base life, which doesn't help the build, and unwavering stance, so you cannot be stunned by wearing these boots. It doesn't have sockets, but that's okay. You don't really need the sockets. You just need cannot be stunned. This is an option. So, what else can you get? Eye of Chayula. This is not the presence. This is the cheaper, unupgraded version. These are usually like 5 to 10C. It does the exact same thing as the presence, but it doesn't have the chaos res on it, and the max life converted to ES. So we would lose ES, we would lose chaos res, but we'd still have the important thing of cannot be stunned. So that's a budget solution, right, to the problem. What else is there? Rite of Ruin's a Berserker passive node. That doesn't work. There should be a couple others. Hang on. Stun Prevention. I think there's 2 other uniques that you can use. Oh god. Let me look. I believe it's called Stun Threshold. Again, this is like a fairly complex thing, but there are other sources of Stun Threshold. Stun Immunity. Here we go. Here's actually a list of all the things. I should have just looked up this first. So there's a helm that gives you cannot be stunned. There's the 2 boots we talked about, the amulet we talked about, the other amulet we talked about. Totems. Kiara's Determination is another good thing. It's a flask that lasts 2.5 seconds that gives you immunity to stuns while your flask is active. That's good. Let's see. You just kind of have to like search through stuff, which can be annoying because you have to do some research, and it's not like handed to you on a silver platter, but you can figure it out. If I just look up stun, oh god, there's 200 of them. Hang on. I know there's other options. So because I know what these options are, I'm just going to tell you what they are. There's a ring called Valerium, which says stun threshold is based off energy shield instead of life. So like, say you have 15k ES, and you take a 3k ES hit, normally that would stun you if you didn't have this ring on, but it would give you stun immunity in this case. It's not like immunity, but it's a huge like boost to your stun threshold, which means you don't get stunned enough to stun lock you. Unless you're being hit for like 20k damage a hit. In that case, you're dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. The other gear we have to look at is the shavs. Now in this case, I'm using a 6-link shavs, but if you look at my links, it's just for damage, right? It's just a Scorching Ray 6-link. You don't actually need this. And I believe I say in the video that you don't need the 6-link, you could just use like a 2-link Scorching Ray to start out with until you have a 4-link and then a 5-link and then a 6-link. Generally, whenever there's a 6-link involved, you can cut it down to a 5 or a 4-link and you'll be fine. There's a way to get a guaranteed 5-link on any single chest piece. Like, you do need the shavs, but there's a way to get a guaranteed 5-link that usually costs less than like 20C in every league. Jeweler's Touch is apparently not an item. It's a prophecy. Let's go to prophecy. Reward others. I don't know. Oh, I spelled jewelers wrong. My bad. So it says an item will become 5 sockets and 5 links with a single jeweler's orb. Generally, this prophecy is like 10 to 30 chaos. Even in standard, it's like 20C. So this guarantees you a 5-link. You still need the shavs. The reason you need the shavs is so that chaos damage does not bypass your energy shield, which means that you don't, like, if you're on low life, you have like 100 life and say 10k ES. If you get hit with chaos damage without a shavs on, it'll hit you for the 100 life and you'll die. In this case, it makes the chaos damage hit you in the ES, which means you're okay. I believe there are other sources of that. Chaos damage does not bypass energy shield. Should be a couple. This one. 4 unique items prevent chaos damage from bypassing energy shield. So here's what you could use instead. Solaris Lorica doesn't have ES, but it's reduced chaos damage taken from over time, and its chaos damage does not bypass energy shield. So as a budget Chavrons, you could use this in a 4-link. You just use like Scorching Ray. What are the red? Scorching Ray, Empower, Iron Will, and like Rapid Decay. So you have like fairly easy colors to get. Because this is an armor base, it's hard to get blues on it, so like using the reds and greens is easier than blues, so that's great. Other options, Coruscating Elixir. This is usually like an alch. Coruscating Elixir is a flask that says chaos damage does not bypass energy shield during effect. Removes your life and gives you regen based on the life, but it's okay if it removes the life, that doesn't hurt us. So if you had one of these, you could use it as a way to get immunity to chaos in those 8 seconds that it's active, which actually I think goes up to 8.8 seconds with quality. You could just carry 2 of these. These are usually like 10 to 15 chaos at the start of a league, and then they drop down to like 1 chaos. Ashes Visage is an energy shield that gives you chaos damage, does not bypass energy shield while on low life, while not on low life or low mana. So we can't use this because we're on low life intentionally to get the damage from being low life. So this is terrible, do not use this. So these are your 3 options. Solaris, Waika, Coruscating Elixir, Strapons. Obviously this is the expensive version. Other required things, that's it. Like this is in 1 alch unique generally. My ES gear is fairly high end, right? Because it's min-max, but you can obviously just get less high tier ES gear. Like instead of a 500 ES helm, go for a 300 ES helm. Instead of like 200 ES gloves, go for 100 ES gloves. Instead of 250 ES boots, go for 150 ES boots. Like you just downscale all of the ES numbers so that you'll have less overall ES than me, but you'll still have the same build. And you'll do the same things, but you'll be less effective as I am. And then when you grind currency up, you min-max, you'll get to that point and you'll be fine. So that's the low-life RF character. Let's go to the next one. Spider Queen. So in this case, I'm just going to go to my profile, because it doesn't have a forum guide. Let's see, where is she? Spider Queen. Right here. So, the required uniques for this build looks like absolutely nothing on the gear and the flasks. So we'll go to the skill tree, which is broken right now, because it's not even respected yet. But in this case, I'm using a bunch of reckless defenses to get a huge chunk of block chance. And these are fairly expensive, but you don't need these to start the build. The build concept is just a massively high regen ES-based character with Zealot's Oath. So you convert all your life regen on the tree and on your gear into ES regen, and then you just tank everything with that regen. What these jewels do is they allow you to get block capped as well as having insane amounts of regen. But you do not need these to start the build. You'll just lose all your block chance, but you'll still have the massive amount of regen. So like to replace these jewels, you could just use like ES jewels to get more overall ES than I have, and you'd be fine. You could also grab like damage on the jewels and stats, like spell damage, fire damage, all that sort of things. ES, intelligence, dex, strength, all res, whatever you need on the jewels. You don't have to use the reckless defenses to start out with. Until you farm up more currency and you want to use these, then you can swap out your jewels for them. Simple. As for the gear itself, like same as the previous character, these are insanely high ES gear, right? You just scale down the ES, and you'll have the same build with less effective ES than I do. Which is fine, it will still function, it will just have less ES. And that's okay. Looks like the flasks are just bleed, cursed, freeze, whatever, all that stuff, general things, right? So that's Spider. You just downscale. All of these builds are in the build guides playlist on my YouTube channel, which has all of my build guides on it. Okay, so this is another character that people always ask me about because it's really expensive, right? So we'll go to the, I'll just go back to my account as well because it doesn't have a forum guide. I don't generally do forum guides because it's a lot of like typing, and I have the video guide, so like it should be fine. I apparently don't have my character name in the description, that's funny. Let me fix that. Sorry about that, apparently I'm just bad. Go back to the video. So, let's pull up the profile again. Skill tree profile. Lemon Prime, where are you? So this character is very min-maxed and very expensive to min-max. But, let's look at the required uniques. So gear-wise, we have Skyforce, and we have a rear guard. And then I don't think we have any unique jewels. Let me check to make sure. Now these are all rare jewels, right? So you don't need any uniques other than these two and the flasks. So we'll start with the problems that these uniques are solving. If you look at Skyforce, it says stun threshold is based off your mana instead of life. This is the same problem that the Presence of Chayula was solving for the first character. It's solving the fact that ES characters are easily stunned. Now, we already went through this, how to get stun threshold and stun immunity as an ES character without using, what was the previous thing? I think we were using Presence of Chayula, right? So like in this case, we can do the same thing. We can grab Eye of Chayula, which is like 10 chaos versus like 40x for Skyforce. We can't grab Unwavering Stance because we're nowhere near it. It's way the hell over here. So that's not an option. And then we can also use Valerium, the ring we talked about. It would give you stun threshold based on ES instead of life, so that solves the issue. And that's one of the most expensive pieces of the character, so that's good. Rear guards are usually like a chaos or 3, depending on how good the roll is. So that's easy enough to acquire. As for flasks, Taste of Hate is fairly expensive. It gives you fizz mitigation and physical damage added as cold. The added is cold doesn't matter. We're using this for fizz mitigation, so instead of this, we could use a different source of fizz mitigation on a flask, such as a basalt flask. Let me look up one of those so you guys know what it looks like. And this is not a rare flask or a unique flask, it's just a basalt flask. They drop randomly, they require level 40, so anything 40 or higher, it'll give it to you. And it gives you 20% fizz reduction, which is what the build wants out of that flask slot, right? I'm using it because it gives 30% of fizz taken as cold, which translates into about 25% fizz mitigation. So Basalt Flask is just a little bit worse, and it gives you no DPS, but it gives you the same amount of fizz mitigation, more or less, so that's perfect. This is just a bleed flask. This is just a movement flask. As for the Rumi's concoction, this is double legacy Rumi's. It's very expensive, but again, you don't need this. It just gives you defense. So you could use a single legacy or a non-legacy at all, which is like 10 to 15 chaos. That scales it down the cost even further. You could also just drop this flask entirely for another like offensive flask or something like that, or just like a granite flask is fine too. As for this flask, it's a Vinktars, which is our only source of leech on the build. So in this case, you need a Vinktars, but this is legacy, right? So to get the less expensive version of this, you grab a single legacy version, or a not zero legacy version, which is like an X or two. This is usually like 50x, so obviously that scales down the cost pretty heavily. Since you don't have the Rumis anymore, you could grab two non-legacy Vinktars to use one here and one here. Since non-legacy only gets one use, this gets two uses, you would get the same effect as having this flask. You can also use Aziri's Promise, which is another unique flask that gives you leech, because this is the reason we're using that flask is for leech. Specifically, attack leech as life. This gives you % of fizz and % of Ellie damage added as extra chaos damage, and then you get to leech 2% of that chaos damage as life during flask effect. So this would give you attack leech, basically, which is what we want. Other than that, I believe the skill tree is just like penetration nodes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's the same. Like nothing on the tree changes. If you wanted to, actually, you could drop a couple damage nodes. Like say you could drop a power charge or some ES nodes, or like these damage nodes, and you could actually just get attack leeched as life on the tree. You could go 1-2, life leeched as mana, and attack damage leeched as life and mana, and leeched as life and leeched as life, and it would cost you like 3 skill points out of the way. So you could just drop a 3-point jewel socket, grab the attack leech here, and then you don't need the Vinktars anymore for the leech. Problem solved, right? Everything else is just really high-end ES gear, right? So you just scale down the ES, as always. We've talked about this a couple times. As for the bow, you just drop the bow. This is like a 430 DPS bow, you drop it to like 300 DPS. Or use a Chinsoul, or a Lion's Eyes Glare, or some other really cheap unique bow that's like 1 to 5 chaos. That'll solve that problem, right? Again, this is just generic problem solving. If you know a little bit about the build, or you're willing to research a little bit about the build, you can figure these sort of things out. So this character is the same sort of concept as the last ES character. I'm sure you're noticing, there's a little bit of a theme here with ES characters. Alright, let's go to my profile for the Breach Mother. I think she's still put together. Let me check. Breach Mother. I saw it right here. So, look at the gear. Let's see. Do we have any uniques? I don't have any uniques. I apparently stripped the character. So, in the video, though, I am wearing a Presence of Chayula, which is the expensive stun immunity version. So again, you just scale that down to a cheaper version, the Eye of Chayula, or the Valerium, the ring again, right? Same stuff. And then all my other gear is just rare ES gear. I think this is actually Doriani's Catalyst, but so that is a, we'll show you that since I don't have it on hand. So this is a Scepter that gives you a huge chunk of elemental damage and cast speed and critical strike chance, right? So to replace that, you just get a weapon that has spell damage, elemental damage, cast speed, like a rare. It doesn't have to be this unique, it's just like the highest damage one that you can get. So if you just use a lesser damage version of this, like say a random rare Scepter with just spell damage on it, or like a wand with spell damage, a dagger with spell damage, you would have the same effect but less. That's perfect, that's what you're looking for. You're just downscaling. All of my other gear was just ES gear, so you just again scale down the ES levels and you'll be fine. It looks like I'm only using an Aziri's Promise Flask, which is like a chaos, so that's perfectly fine and affordable. As for the 6 link, drop the 6 link, go to a 5 link with the Jeweler's Touch that we talked about earlier. Simple. Next one, let's see what we got. The Fastest Lemon. This is another fairly expensive character that I've made. Go to the account. This is a ES based crit wander. So those like 3 words combined is like, holy shit, that's expensive, we can't play that build, right? So what uniques am I wearing? Let's see. I am wearing a Crown of Eyes. This is approximately 3 chaos, 3 to 10 chaos, depending on what league you're in. So that's perfect. The only thing that's expensive on this is the unique. Or sorry, the enchantment, right? Barrage projectiles. So that's fine. And then we're using Skyforce. We've talked about this before. This is for stun immunity. So we drop that and we use Valyrium or Eye of Chayula. Other unique things I'm using. Looks like I'm using Aziri's Promise. That's fine. It's a chaos, whatever. Using a Dying Sun. This is expensive. This is usually like, what, 10x or something? You do not need this. It just gives you more AoE and projectiles, which means more DPS at endgame. So you just drop this flask entirely and use another damage flask, like another Aziri's Promise. You could use a Taste of Hate. You could use a Onslaught flask. You could use a Diamond flask if you're struggling with critical strike chance. You could just use another Ruby flask. That would work too. And then I'm using a Sin's Rebirth, which gives you Unholy Might during flask effect. This is also a very expensive flask. It's like 10x. But again, you do not need this. Unholy Might adds a 30% of your physical damage as chaos. So this is a Chaos Wander. So these two things are a huge chunk of added chaos damage. But again, this is expensive, so just replace it with another DPS flask. Another Aziri's Promise. A Onslaught flask, Diamond flask, Granite flask, another Quicksilver. Something similar to that. Even a Vinktar's would be good in that slot. Just so you reduce the cost overall of the build, right? You could also do this build as non-crit entirely. You could just like not have crit on your wand, not have Skyforce, just use Eye of Chayula and go non-crit and you'd be fine. So let's look at the skill tree. Do I have any unique jewels? I don't think I do. No, they're just like rare jewels with damage on them. So the skill tree would be the same. You would just get less OP jewels, right? You would grab like 2 damage prop jewels, 3 damage prop jewels, maybe like ES and a damage prop, something like that, just to like reduce the cost overall and you'd be fine. And that would make the build, if I drop, let's see, if I drop the wand to just be a chaos wand, you can roll your own chaos damage wand in like, I don't know, probably like 500 alts or less, which is like an exalt or less. Just make your own wand. You just need the chaos damage, added chaos damage as a prefix, and then like attack speed. Done. Wand's finished. Gear, obviously it's just really high-end ES gear, so just scale it all down. Grab some shitty steel rings, or just like rings with ES on them and resistances and stats. Scale down the ES on your gloves, scale down the belt, scale down the chest. Like you just scale everything down so it's less ES, you'll be fine. Like 300 ES shield, 700 ES, 600 ES, 500 ES regalia. A belt with ES on it, like a strength belt would be perfect. 150, 100 ES gloves would be fine. Amulet with ES on it with some damage is great. Yeah, that's it. That's all those uniques. So that would make this build, if I dropped all of that stuff down to the budget build, I could probably build this character in less than 3x. Like, the only expensive part would be rolling the wand, I think, and then like a 5-link ES chest might cost you a couple X. But yeah, you could do it. You could make this build super budget. Next character that people would consider to be very expensive, my Bloizen Lacerate character, which is Bleed, Poison, Lacerate, right? So, required uniques that I show in the video are... Pause. So it's actually, I just have the character. Hang on, let's go to my profile. He's untouched, I believe. Profile! Flying purple people, where are you? Boop, 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 boop. Purple people, what the hell, there you are. Alright, so what uniques am I wearing? Looks like I'm wearing a Devoto's Devotion. This is like 1 to 20C, depending on the age of the league. Right now, I think in Legacy it's like 30 chaos, but in Standard it's like 1 to 5, because it's worthless after the league start. Other uniques, I'm using a Legacy Void Heart. This is expensive, it gives you bleed poison on hit. You do not need this ring at all. You can just use a rare ring with fizz damage on it until you can afford a non-Legacy Void Heart, and then you can save up for a Legacy Void Heart. You just like take the baby steps to get progressing up and higher. The weapon itself, I'm using a 6-link Starforge, right? But Starforges are like, I don't know, I think they're like 5x or something. Let me check. I'm not sure offhand. So in Legacy right now, a Starforge is 7x. That's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. In Standard, they're 2.5x. So like, here's a 5-link for 3x. You don't need the 6-link, right? It just gives you a little bit more damage. You never need a 6-link in a build. It's just like you gain an extra link. So you could just drop increased AoE, which we don't actually need that much, and just like have a 5-link Starforge and you'd be fine. So if you spent 3x and 20C on the Jeweler's Touch Prophecy that we talked about earlier, you could make a 5-link Starforge in less than 3 to 4x. And if you can't afford a Starforge, well at this point, we just go look at unique swords. and we just sort. We go to two-handed swords, and you can actually sort by the PDPS, right? You just hit the up arrow. That's not the up arrow. Alright, so this is the highest PDPS swords that you can buy, right? Starforge is the top one, which is why I use it. The second ones are these three. Where's their DPS numbers? So it's 300 to 450 DPS on this one, 390 to 450, 325 to 370. So objectively, I would probably go for Kondo's Pride. It's like the highest consistent DPS. And I believe these are like an alchemy orb, depending on the roll. Wait, what the fuck is it called? Yeah, Kondo's. Okay, they're an alchemy orb in standard. This is like near max roll for one alch. If I go to Legacy League, it is the same price. Near max roll, one alch. And if you are doing this as a leveling up build, like you can just grab lower tier swords as you're leveling. So you just sort by the required level here. So you could start with a Shiver Sting at level 14. You could grab an Edge of Madness at level 22. And you would upgrade, these are both summoner swords, so they're shit. You could upgrade into a Rigwald's Charge at level 44. And then a Terminus Est at 51. And then you could go into the endgame swords at level 59 and 60-ish. 61, right? And then eventually, when you have enough currency to use a Starforge, you can buy a Starforge. Just grind your way up to it, and then you're good to go. Pretty good, right? What other uniques was I wearing? Where'd it go? I'm wearing a Belly of the Beast 6-link. What am I using in the 6-link? Cast when damage taken, curse on hit, garbage. So like you could just not have the 6-link here at all. Just use a fucking 4-link. And not be a memer like I am with using fucking enhance in your 6-link level 1 cast when damage taken setup. I obviously just do that because it's good for me, but it's really expensive and really bad if you're not like willing to dump this much currency into a build, so yeah. What other things am I using? A really good ring with stats and resists. Scale it down, get less life, get less stats, get less resists. Ring, I'm using a more attack and cast speed because it makes my leap slam faster. Don't get that. Just go for regular gloves with life and resistance stats, good to go. Belt, really good belt with life resist and stats. Just use a less high-end belt with less life, less resist, and you'll be fine. Boots, same thing. Really high res int life boots. Just drop all of those things and get less of them, and you'll be okay. I wonder if my flasks are half used. That's weird. Okay, so now we look at the flasks. We have 4 unique flasks, right? Aziri's Promise we've talked about. It's like 1 to 3 chaos, depending on the start of the league. Lion's Roar gives us a bunch of melee physical damage, but other than that, nothing. And these are actually fairly cheap in standard. They're usually like 5C. But in League right now, I think they're closer to 20C because a lot of people are playing melee builds. But the prices will drop over time. And again, you don't need this. You could just drop it entirely and get a different flask, like a Onslaught flask or a Quicksilver or something. And this is just like endgame for min-max damage. You don't need this. We've talked about Sin's Rebirth. Very expensive added chaos to attacks. Again, not needed at all. It's just extra damage at endgame. Drop it for a different type of utility flask. Maybe a Basalt Flask or a Granite Flask or something like that. This is just a Freeze Basalt Flask that's cheap. Taste of Hate, again, expensive. The non-legacy version is cheap-ish. It's like 1 to 2x usually. And then you don't need this either. It's just additional source of Fizz mitigation, so you can just drop this entirely for another utility flask. It's funny because this gives added Fizz damage, Fizz damage added as cold. Starforge says we cannot deal elemental damage. So this is actually not giving me any damage, it's just giving me Fizz mitigation. So, again, definitely not needed. If we look at the skill tree, the jewels are, I believe, all just rares. Yeah, rares, where's the other ones? Rares, rare. So again, you just get less OP rare jewels. You would just grab like life and a damage node, or damage stat, and you'd be fine. And it would just cost you way less. Like 4 property GG jewels are probably like 5 to 20x depending on the rolls and the league you're in. But 2 property jewels are like 1 chaos. You know, so I'll look one up right now. In Legacy League, we want a jewel. We want it to have max life. Percent increase maximum life, and we want it to have... Here, I'll show you how to do a complex search here. This is how you do jewel searching. You add a filter group, and then you do a second thing with count, and you say 2. Now you just add all of the things that say sword, or like two-handed, because we're a two-handed sword build, right? So we just do two-handed... Taxi with two-handed melees, sure. What else is damagey for this build? Physical damage with two-handed melees, that seems good. What else is good? I don't know. How about like general attack speed? That's also good. What about a taxi with swords? We already have that. What about attack speed Okay, that's it. We're just that. Okay, what else can we get? What about like melee damage? That's good, right? What about like area damage? That's also good. What about like, I don't know, we probably need some resistances. Let's go for some all res. Actually, let's just do total elemental resist. I think I can do that, right? Yeah, it just has some sort of res on it. What about like dex? Dex is good. What about int? Int is also good. So you just tell it to like specify the number of mods that can be matched in this group. You just say, let's just try 3. See how much we can get. Alright, so there's 4 property... Oh wait, why does it say maces? I guess that's fine. Wait, what? Taxi with maces. Did I do maces? Hang on. Did I fuck something up? It shouldn't be maces. Whatever, it's fine. So, you can find 4 property jewels in Legacy apparently for like less than 10 chaos. Oh wait, it's only matching 2. What are you doing, game? I said 3. I'm not sure why that's fucking up at the moment. It should be forcing it to say 3 total. Or 3 of these group and then 1 of the other group, but I guess it's not. Either way, these are 3 property jewels for like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10C, okay? If we reduce that number down to 2 and maybe delete these because they seem to be bugging out a little bit. If we find like 3 damage property, yeah, okay, so we got damage, life, damage, 1 chaos, damage, damage, life, 10 chaos, damage, damage, life, 15 chaos. It's the same thing. They're fairly cheap. This one's actually a really good deal. You should buy that if you see this video, if it's still there. Let's go to standard and see if we can find some expensive ones. We'll go to 3 properties. So we get 4 prop jewels. Yeah, so damage, 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 life, 5x, damage, 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 life, 10x. This is what I mean by expensive. The standard gets to be a little bit more expensive, but if you do 2 property, so you only have the 3 property jewel total, the price drops horrifically. You have damage, damage, life, 7c. Damage, damage, life, 8c. Damage, damage, life, 10c. Like it's you can make your build budget, basically, by just downscaling everything. What's the next one? I think that was all of my builds I wanted to talk about that people complain about, but this is like, in general, you can do this. You can reduce the cost of a build just by looking at it and checking out the unique. So I'm actually gonna go to the guilds or the builds list. What's like usually a really expensive build that people play? Let's just click Shadow, I don't know. Shadow builds list. Let's pick a build. Terminus, no, okay. Let's pick like a crit spellcaster, or Blade Flurry. Yeah, there we go. 2.6 Blade Flurry. Crit evasion in Breach soft. Why does it say 2.6 if it's in Breach? Don't fucking lie. Alright, so let's look at this guide. I don't know anything about this guide at all. I'm just gonna look at the fucking tree. Or where's the thing? Okay, we just want skill trees. Here we go. This is leveling. I don't care about leveling. I just want the end game. Give me... Oh god, it's not even a link. What are you doing, man? What kind of guide is this? I'm kidding. Okay, does he have his current gear? Yeah, okay. So look at his current gear. And his tree. So does his tree have any unique jewels in it? Okay, this is just inefficient as hell. You don't need this node. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to critique the fuck out of this tree as I look at it. Drop this node! Fucking get a jewel socket. I don't know. Alright, he has no jewel socketed. That's fine. Looks like it's just a general life-based attack crit build, which is fine. Let's go back to here and look at the required gear. So what do we got? We have a Benos. This is like 1 to 10C. That's pretty cheap. Best hand, 1 to 10C. Nothing. It's just a rare with stats in life. Rare with stats in life. Rare with stats in life. He's using a Duresso's Defiance 5 link. Duresso's Defiance, I believe, is like a chaos in any league. Duresso's Defiance full dragon scale. Yep, 1 alchemy orb. So, in order to get a 5 link on a Duresso's, we've talked about this. You go to the Jeweler's Touch Prophecy. Bam, guaranteed 5 link. 25 chaos, 30 chaos. Pretty cheap. Let's go to standard. Jeweler's Touch. 28, 29, 30. So it's like 30C for a guaranteed 5 link plus an alchemy orb for the chess piece itself. Easy. Looks like a rare with stats resists. A rare with stats life resists. A rare with life and stats resists. A rare with life stats resists. Alright, we'll get to flasks. Unique flasks. This is an a chaos. Witchfire Brew. This gives you vulnerability aura during curse effect, which is pretty important for a bleed poison build. It gives them increased damage taken from fizz, increased damage taken from damage over time. So that scales your bleed, your poison, and your initial hits. That's an amazing flask. It also gives you damage over time. So this flask is probably really good. It's also probably fairly expensive. On standard, it is 10 chaos. Never mind, it's fairly cheap. Let's check legacy. 10 chaos. Alright, so never mind. That's still a budget option. You don't actually need this, though. You can just get it for more damage at endgame. I believe we've talked about Lion's Roar before. It's like 1 to 10 chaos, depending on the league you're in. 1 to 20 chaos, sorry. Early on in leagues, it's pretty expensive. And then it's like a Quicksilver and a Life Flask. So, you could probably make all of this gear for like, I don't know, an X or two. Maybe a little bit more than that if you get unlucky on the buys. He actually shows you leveling uniques as well. So this build is pretty good. It's like how to level. And then here's your 6-link. Yeah, so he's on a 5-link himself, but he has a guide showing what you can get as your 6-link. Like, that's pretty cool, honestly. It's a pretty well thought out guide. I like this. But again, there's like fairly expensive things in here that you could just budget out. I think that's all I want to talk about though. So like, if you have any questions about specific builds that you want to make cheaper, I'm probably going to link you this video, and it's a very long video, but I would like you to learn how to do this yourselves because, not to sound like I'm whining, but I'm whining, I cannot help all of the people that want me to help them individually because there's literally thousands of you and I am one person with 24 hours in a day. I need to like sleep and eat and make videos and like stream and enjoy my own life and have my own free time. I cannot help everybody at once. I wish I could, but I can't. So this is a resource that you can use yourselves to learn how to do this yourselves. I will probably put this up on a link on stream somewhere so that people are constantly referred to it. But like, I really do hope this helps. This is a lot of effort to make a video like this. It's like a fucking 40-minute video of me explaining how to do this, but I hope that like it explains things in a way that makes sense. If you have any questions about the video explanations in particular, leave it in the comments below. I will definitely go through those comments. I answer every single comment. I stream almost every day. The stream link's on screen and in description. What else do I have to say? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you in Ray class at some point. I guess that's it for now. Yeah, like, subscribe, comment, shitpost, get on our Discord server, watch me on stream, follow me on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. I don't have all of these things. What else can I name? Fucking, I don't know. What's the dating apps called? I don't know any other things. I'm sorry. I'm bad at this. I'm tired. Hope you enjoyed again, and let's Demi out. Have fun.